Hello, hello. Good day, good afternoon, good evening. How we doing today? How we doing? How are we? Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome back to another live. This is my last live for a week and a couple days from this office. So we'll be on the either from the hotel or from the road, walking around, all of that for the next lives from here. So very excited for the trip. Very, very, very excited for the trip. Um, Quite a few things to talk about. Quite a few things to talk about. A lot of stories, a lot of stuff happening at the moment. A lot of things that are moving ahead when it comes to United, at least in the transfer space. So what United are doing is very, very clear at this point in time, and that's what I want to talk about. A lot of stuff seemingly being confirmed, like today, all of that well aligned with our thinking, or at least what I've heard as well. So that is good signs as well. So we're going to talk about the striker. We're going to talk about the goalkeeper, and we'll talk about some of the guys who are, potentially, I think, the most important players to watch and why. You meeting up with other? Yeah, I need to talk to some people for sure. I need to talk to some people for sure because I'll definitely meet up with Flex KG. Hopefully next week, get some videos with them, or Saturday do a live video, something like that with them in person, but also some other things definitely to be done. Um, so, uh, yeah, what are we doing? So yeah, a few things to talk about. But first and foremost, yes, thank you for being here. As you get in, definitely make sure to pop a like on the video, on the stream. Help us out there. Let's get those numbers up, and we will get to it. What did you think? What did you think? If you're here, I mean, I'm gonna discuss it. I've got an agenda. I've got a clear agenda today of things to discuss, but some of this is certainly predicated on and in alignment with the tactical video this morning that I was trying to explain, because I wanted people to understand why we are doing things the way that we're doing them, why we're prioritizing things in a specific order and sequence in the way that we are. So that was one of the things I wanted to discuss today. Yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because frankly, I get frustrated with what I see to be a complete misunderstanding. Look, and here's the thing. You can very much look at the way that Ruben Amorim wants to play football. You can watch that video, you can watch it, you can understand it, and then you can say, I don't like that. That's fine. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on tactics. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on the type of football they want to watch. Everybody's going to have a different opinion in the types of players they like to see, the style of football. Some people absolutely love, those midfielders, who are going to take the ball and distribute it like skulls, and, do that type of thing. And that's your primary means of progression, of playing football and things like that. There's obviously going to be a million different preferences when it comes to football and what people want and what people want to see. But yeah, where I tend to get frustrated in general is that the majority of the analysis that I've seen on it is, to me, really, really clear. It comes via people not actually watching him play in Portugal at length. And I'm talking about game after game after game after game after game of watching him play at length, the way that the game is approached, not one game here or there and all of that. And the example and that I gave, obviously, in the video, is that I don't know how you can analyze something without knowing what it's supposed to look like. Every single thing, diagnostic wise, has to have a baseline. anything you're trying to diagnose, you must have a baseline. If you don't have a baseline, you're incapable of diagnosing something. And I think that because Ruben Amorim came from Portugal, where people really didn't watch him play outside of European games, um, there people are not gathering the baseline of what it's supposed to look like in order to compare it to. Welcome, George, to the Pro Muppet. Thank you for that. And yeah, the X-ray example is good. It's like, if you look at a team and if you look at someone and you're doing a scan, a CT scan or an X-ray, and you don't know what it's supposed to look like, then you can't really diagnose it. You can't say what's wrong. You don't know where the bones are supposed to be. It's kind of like, when you're putting together fossils. A lot of times, so many times, how many they looked at, fossils from way back when because they never saw them, and they said, here's all the bones. And then they said, how does this all fit together? And they probably have it wrong still to this day. I mean, you look at the people like talking about like, oh wait, actually T-Rexes are fat, low, and have feathers. You know what I mean? It's like that's because you don't have any reference point to compare these things to. And I think that reference point is fundamental to analyzing it. And the other aspect to it is that when he can put that in place, the basics, then of course a manager has to be flexible within the confines of that. They have their basic foundation, then they tweak it. But if you can't even lay in the basics, if you can't even get the basics in place at all, if you don't have the personnel for the basic structures, then it becomes basically impossible for anybody to do a job and get a job done. When you look at what happened to Ten Hag, that's essentially the fundamental failing of his entire tenure at United beyond buying crappy players. He came in and it was supposed to be, you played this way. This is why we hired you. You did this system. You have this. And he came in and you saw in the preseason, he started that way and he played that way and he put together a team to build that way. And then we got absolutely demolished in the first couple of games and he instantly gave up. We didn't get the right players for the right way to play over that summer. It was a complete misestimation of what was needed in order to do that system. Then we abandoned it right away. What did that do for us? It set us back years by abandoning that. I wish we hadn't, but you have to be able to get that base in place. And so the question is whether to abandon it or whether to actually get into it. You can ask me about Javi Guerra. It's about 90% agent talk. I can tell you that. It's about 90% agent talk. United are not close to a deal for him. They've not made an offer for him. They've not done any of that. He's just a player that they are aware of, that they understand, that they've watched and that they've looked at. But there's nothing close on a deal for Javi Guerra. It's mostly agent talk. So it's not a deal that's close to being done. Maybe he's one we like, is quite certainly possible, because we've watched him, we're aware of him, all of that. Not close to a deal happening or even a player we're necessarily pursuing at all right now or this summer. So I think that's a pretty clean answer on the situation. We might like him in the future. When we get to the midfield, if we get to the midfield this summer, we'll see. But it seems much more likely that he's signing a contract based on everything that I've heard and know on this one. And yeah, look, my point is that you hire a manager to play the way, to do what they're good at. That's why they're hired. That's what you bring them in for. You can bring in managers where you say, we've got a really good squad. It's already built. Everything's ready. We want someone to come in and work with that squad. That might be why you hire a Thomas Tuchel or something like that. Or essentially that's what they've done with Arne Slot at Liverpool is bring him into a squad that's already successful and say, add to it. And we figured and their data said, this is the guy who's going to fit our squad best. And it was a good squad. So they brought him in and he was successful. Yeah, we do want a 6, but it's not close. There's nothing close on a 6 at the moment. again, that's the thing. There's still nothing concrete on that. It's very, very, very early doors, and it is probably likely to be last after the keeper and the striker. But we'll get into all of that. So let's get right into things. We'll come back to the tactics stuff in a minute on a different section of all of this. Obviously, first I want to talk about Marcus Rashford. He's completed his deal, his move, of course, to Barcelona, officially announced today. I thought it was nice. I thought Rashford looked happy. I thought he looked like he was. It was just I this is where I just say I think it's a good thing for everybody, all of this. And when he was asked about United, basically said the same thing. United have been going through a lot of change. Do not have anything bad to say about United. Hope everything goes for the best, but sometimes things don't always go the way you envisioned them, and it's time to move on to the next chapter. And hopefully he's successful. Hopefully United are successful, and that's what it is. So I definitely wish all the best for Marcus as he officially gets his move to Barcelona, and hopefully smashes it. Hopefully it's made permanent, and so that's that. You know what I mean? That's what I hope for everything, and that would be good for us as well. So just wanted to briefly touch on that. I think it's worth celebrating and enjoying players who've come through United for a long time, moving on to potentially bigger and better things.
Would you agree that the discussion about Rashford seems deeply rooted in extremes? One side think he belongs in a third-rate league, and the other think he is a genuine world-class superstar.
Sure, I agree with you. I think it's always too extreme in either direction on it. And I think that part of the reason that happens is because the attack on him is so extreme sometimes and so off base, where like some of the things that have been said about Rashford over the last couple of years are crazy, are absolutely crazy. I mean, insane. I remember a year ago, it was that Rashford was the reason Garnacho isn't doing well, and he's holding him back, a world class talent, from the things that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly that, Alfred. It leads to an incredible it's overcorrection. I mean, I do the same thing all the time. When I see things being overly negative, I overcorrect in the opposite. I do the same thing, like, with Ugarte, when people ask why you defend him so much, because I see such an insane amount of attack on certain people, certain players, for different reasons. For Rashford, a lot of it is so personal. Stories in the Daily Mail, all sorts of shit, so much. Attacking everything about him, his character, his clothes, his money, his everything, to where plenty of people feel a strong need to defend him. And I can count myself in that, because I don't see what the point of doing that is. And I consider myself certainly to go further than needed in defending Marcus, and I probably always will. That's okay to me. Let's see how he does now. It's a new chapter, but I think that there are certainly personal things that happen that are beyond the pale, and it goes that way.
17 for 40M, much can we spend?
With PSR, if we sell 17, you need Garnacho for 40 million. A lot. We could go do 100 million in the market. Let's put it that way. We could probably go do 100 in the market if we can move Garnacho now as well.
What part of us you from? Are you going to the West Ham game?
I am from Colorado, but I will be at the game in New York and in Chicago. So Brentford and West Ham, I believe, and then I don't remember which one's in Atlanta. So yeah. So anyway, that we can put it behind us. That's fine. We can put it behind us, move forward, and just simply wish the best for absolutely everybody. And that's what I want. I don't think that it can be right to move forward. it can be Bournemouth. Yeah, okay, Bournemouth. Yeah, it can be right for everyone to move forward, and that's all. That's what I hope. That's what I want. I want everybody to move forward. Yeah, I see that as well. Christopher Michelle. Let me pull up the tweet here, and then we'll move on to the next section here because this is about the Rashford deal. He says, loan with option to buy, which may become an obligation to buy on certain conditions. Interesting. Option to buy is just over 30 million plus bonuses of around 5 and fully covered salary. So that's interesting. Interesting if there are conditions to that obligation that make it into an obligation. That's cool. Then that obviously, if he has a smashing season there, you would expect it to improve. So cool. That's nice. A good little extra detail. I know that there was rumors on that, but we didn't really see if anybody actually kind of confirmed that. Okay, now let's move on to the PL striker situation. Let's talk about that. Okay. All right. So, one of the things that obviously on this striker front we've been following is who United were prioritizing. Now, my information has always been that Ruben Amorim would prefer, if you go back to the beginning of this summer, and the information that I shared, why we were kind of pushing for Gyökeres, for example, why he was pushing for Gyökeres, is he wanted someone who can make more of an impact, hit the ground running, not take big risks this summer. So it has always been my information for months now that that's what Ruben Amorim would prioritize. That's what he's pushing for. Obviously, we've seen with the other players that we've bought in the 10s position that Premier League experience is vital, and that continues to be the case. The priority for summer is Premier League proven, and the priority for a striker is Premier League proven. That's what we would prefer to go for. Somebody who can come in, knows the league, all of this, very experienced. Obviously, we've looked at other options, but at the same time, Premier League experience is pretty big. There is a type of player that fits into the profile as well, but there's also, the nature of, being proven, what that is, what that means, and that you can expect someone to do something right away. Now, in the last couple of days, I told you I did not believe from my side that the Šeško stuff was particularly serious. That I don't believe. I think it's been overplayed a bit. A lot of it coming from his side, even though there's interest from United coming from his side because his move to Arsenal fell through. Perhaps Leipzig trying to force the issue on trying to get a sale, now saying things like maybe the price is a little lower and all of that. That part was also essentially confirmed by Laurie Whitwell, that the interest in him is not that serious, and frankly, that United don't even particularly rate him that highly. If you listen to the podcast, the video they did today on that, I'm just going to pull this up here. He said, Benjamin Šeško is another one that United have tracked for a long time. They've looked at for years. As far as I'm aware, the cost of that deal and that he didn't go through the Bundesliga last year tearing it up, that combination means he's not one that's being actively pursued. Again, it's pretty obvious on here, the fact of the matter, which is that they just don't rate him that highly. Like, they weren't necessarily impressed with his last season in the Bundesliga. He's not at the top of their list for a reason. When they were looking at Benjamin Šeško over the last few years, it was as a young player with strong physical tools, what can he become? His development hasn't exploded. It hasn't gone off, and yet you're talking about potentially exploded prices for him. Even at 60 million pounds, you're talking about a striker more expensive than Nicholas Jackson. Well, maybe not. We'll see about that. More expensive than Ollie Watkins. The cost of Mateta, the cost of Watkins, the cost perhaps of Jackson, the cost perhaps of Premier League proven players, where he's not producing that much at the moment, and he may not fit particularly well, and it's in an easier league. So in that respect, I think it's it makes sense why we're not particularly strongly interested in him. The priority certainly seems to be the priority seems to be that Premier League proven player, that strong player. And the names that keep coming up over and over again are, of course, Ollie Watkins and Nicholas Jackson. Ollie Watkins, if you go way back a month ago now, maybe it's not that far way back, but a month, 6 weeks ago now, you remember when I broke down Victor Gyökeres, why he likes Victor Gyökeres, what he does for him, and also why Ollie Watkins would be a really good fit and why they were likely to be looking at that deal again. And it's because of what the striker does. And that's it. And Watkins is the best fit. Watkins is the best fit for this United team. And that's why I would believe he's somebody that we would, want quite a lot. Experienced, would hit the ground running, would do very, very well, immediately fits into the system. The question is, of course, can you pry him out of Aston Villa this summer? What would the cost be? How much do you have to pay? Because I don't think 29 is too old at all, in my opinion, especially because you have the opportunity to, with young players like Cheeto, Enzo in the team, to give them time to develop. And then Watkins can become the rotation in that respect. But he will be very good for 2 to 3 years. So you don't want to pay 60, 70 million for him. You like to pay in the 40, 50 range. Now, I believe he could be obtained for that price based on what I'd heard. There was a few articles saying 50 million, but obviously it kind of depends. Again, going back to this is the, I'm just going to reference the tactics video this morning and talking about this striker. The most important thing that they can do is to run these channels constantly for the buildup in that first and kind of second phase, being energetic, lots of runs, lots of sprints into the channels, lots of constant movement and intelligence in that position. This is something that Ollie Watkins does better than anybody else in the Premier League.
From making a striker bid today?
Stylistically. Good question. What's stopping us from making a striker bid today? And thank you for joining. The biggest thing that's stopping us from making striker bid today is the money and the prices. Obviously, today, the prices that Watkins and Jackson are kind of being quoted at are maybe a bit higher than United want to pay for them. United also need to make some sales. They want to hope those prices kind of come down, and all of that. Watkins is great for that. Jackson does a lot of the same things. And with Jackson, there's the alternative at potential advantage, which keeps getting brought up and has not been ruled out. And it's been mentioned again today by Fabrizio and others. And I keep telling you is an option, is that Garnacho could go to Chelsea and Jackson could come the other way. Laurie Whitwell as well today acknowledged that was had some actual substance to it too. So there's an opportunity there to get essentially what I would say in Jackson is like a younger Watkins. He's quite similar to him. Watkins in his finishing was even less consistent. He's actually a decent finisher these days. In his younger days, he was less consistent. They're probably really similar in that respect. I feel like Jackson is a younger version of Ollie Watkins, who is a very good player, but again, the finishing aspect is certainly an inconsistency there. But stylistically, what they bring to the table, quite similar. But then there's the also again brings together the opportunity for this whole Garnacho situation and why that is possible. It is still something possible for Chelsea to bring in Garnacho, even if they sign Xavi Simons. That seems to be the case according to Fabrizio and others, that they want more forwards and more forwards and more forwards, and it's kind of hilarious in that respect. So that those are deals. Now, personally, I would take Ollie Watkins over Jackson. I would definitely take Ollie Watkins has been, after Gyökeres, has been my top choice all summer. You know that if you watch these videos, you know that Ollie Watkins I was naming even before it was in the media as the guy that I wanted United to turn to, that they've been looking at, that they should be trying for, because he's the most similar to Gyökeres. Again, I don't think any of these options are world-class options, but we don't necessarily need world-class in that position. We don't necessarily need world-class in every position. Liverpool walked the league last year with what I would say is one world-class forward. Um, I think that City have very regularly not had three world-class forwards in their team. I don't think you have to have the best. With how good Mbumo is, with how
Thanks for
good
the analysis on
Cunha
Jackson.
is, I think it's
Makes
okay.
me feel better but still not sold on him. BTW, the big reason online fans don't like Jackson is because a bridge made of gold has ragged on him for years.
Well, yeah, appreciate the donation. Thank you for that. I think that there's that, and I think that there's also it's like there's first impressions matter. You know what I mean? Um, my first impression of Nicholas Jackson was really bad. His first season, I had a really, really bad impression of Nicholas Jackson. And it's something where if I hadn't watched him last year, especially for 6, 7 months before his injuries, and looked at how he played in the last season for Chelsea and how he had grown as a player, I would have said, I wouldn't have liked him. And I think he had a really good, he did really well there, and there were things I quite liked, and I changed my opinion on that. But I think people get stuck on first impressions of things quite a lot, and that's part of it, and that's okay. And that's okay. There's still things he's good at and bad at, but there's other things he is actually very good at. And like it's like when people say like a player's bad football, like it's the same thing with Darwin Nunez. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with Darwin Nunez is the way I see it. Stuart, thank you for donating the memberships to the community. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. As always, Stuart, you're always supporting the channel, and it means an awful lot. Thank you very much. I kind of feel the same way though about Darwin Nunez, because when he came in, everybody was like, he's awful, he's a flop, all of that. When you look at his numbers, it's not that bad. He's a decent player. He's not worth the 80 million they paid for him. Still too inconsistent in front of goal, but he actually does a lot of stuff really well, and would be today our best striker. Jackson is similar in that respect. There's a lot of things he does really well. A lot of things he does really well. Finishing is very inconsistent, and people will focus on that. Understandably, he's a striker, and not recognize the other aspects that they do really, really well. So I think he is good, yeah. And I've said that way before we were linked to him or had any consideration about us signing him. I've said that all year, this whole season, in Discord and places where we just chat about stuff. I've always felt that this season that he really grew as a player and was a lot better for the season. But the Watkins is still my preference because it's much less risky. Jason, Tamialoka is also another 10 gifted memberships to the community. Thank you so much again. Murata's not a terrible comparison. That's not a terrible comparison as well, to be fair, because he was actually a decent player, but you meme the in front of goal stuff like that. So yeah, wait, I'll show you how these, so it's okay, but I think Watkins is less risky, because I think with Watkins, you're getting the exact right guy. I'm waiting to see if this reads out. Hold on, I'm sorry. Do you see us getting another... Oh, yeah, because it's still reading. Do you see us getting another signing in before we back off tour? Also, do we get a number 6? And do you see it being near the end of the window when an opportunity arises? Love the channel. Also, when's the next member video? Good question. I'm going to try to do one tomorrow or Friday, for sure. Just been busy, but yes, we'll do a new members video tomorrow or Friday, for sure. I have a couple things to talk about. Thank you, Stuart. As always, really appreciate it. What is the next season going to look like for Xerxes? So I want to get to that because I'm going to talk about him in the player section and what's really, really important to me about that. By the way, if you're here, the gifted memberships are random. Just so you know, you're not being not chosen or chosen for a reason. It's random. Okay? It's just random. So, yes. But good question on the... I think we can get a goalkeeper before the end of the tour. I don't think they'll join during the tour, but I think we can get a goalkeeper during the tour. And yeah, I think a 6 will come towards the end of the window, because we need to know where our money's going first, and I don't think that we have like a top target that we are ready to invest any money we have available on as well. Alfred with another 10 to the community. Thank you very much. I'm doing nothing. I am not choosing anything. Okay? I'm not doing anything. It's just choosing 10. And thank you, Alfred. Alfred, I think, by the way, I want to compliment you because you and I've seen, in your comments, posts, things like that, you disagree with me on many things, many opinions. And yet you support the channel all the time.
Do you
You're
see
here,
us getting
you
another
hang out,
signing in
you
before we get
donate,
back off tour?
you
Also,
give
if we do get to number 6, do you see it being near the end of the window when an
donations,
opportunity arises?
things like that all the
Love
time.
The channel also.
And I think that's an example of the maturity that we can have as a community as well. That it's we can always disagree with things, but the community itself is important. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that, Alfred. I really do. You always being here and all of that, and that's why I try to take the time to respond to your things personally as well, because I know that I think that it takes yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to compliment that. There's not too often when people disagree with people, now you're giving 20 more. Now it looks like I'm farming. There's 20 more from Alfred. I'm just gonna give you that big compliment as well, because if you can disagree respectfully and have open conversation, that matters. That really does matter. It seems being nice to people works. Look at that. 20 more though. Really, really thank you for that. Thanks a lot, guys. Boy, disagree more. So yeah, there you go. There's a lot of you getting memberships for free. There you go. But yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everybody. Really, really appreciate that. It helps. It helps. It's expensive. I tried to get a room at the hotel where the United are staying, but that was virtually impossible. We're gonna need like 5,000 members to do that. That is an expensive hotel. No, but I'm actually staying quite close by to the United team, and I might even be accidentally staying where some of the other teams are staying. If Guerra Talk is 90% agent, where's the other 10%? Because we have watched him, Chase. Yeah, that's the answer. Because we have watched him. We have watched him and we have looked at him, and he is a player on United's radar. Like the Dominic Calvert-Lewin stuff. Do you guys remember when that came out? And there was a story saying that we were trying to sign Calvert-Lewin, and I said that's not true, but United are aware of him. And the truth was he'd been offered to us. He's been on our kind of low down the list. We're not trying to sign him, but he's there. And so it's like there's some truth to it. It's like a nugget of truth to it, but the whole thing isn't true. It's kind of like that. No, oh my God. Watkins, Lammens, and I have a feeling we'll loan sell Collier and get Hjulman. Maybe. I don't think Hjulman, but I like your thinking. That is possible. Jason, holy shit, man. Thanks, Jason. Jeez, man. You don't have to do that. That's like 112 members gifted on this stream. You don't have to do that, man. But I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. I can't of the farming allegations. But thank you for that. I recognize some names. Ranabir. I know you. Wow. Appreciate that, really. You know what the funny part about the gifted memberships are? Are they kind of expose people who are sitting anonymously, and sometimes it pops up and you're like, hey, look at that guy. I can't wait for it to be like someone recognizable. And then another 10 from Alfred. What are you guys doing, man? Anyway, I can't thank you guys enough. I really appreciate it. You guys are insane. That's crazy. It means a whole lot. Amazing. I appreciate you guys so much. I really do. Just thank you. Just thank you. I don't know what to say. Now you're putting me off my game here because I'm yeah. I'm abashed. Is that the right word? I don't know. I'm not embarrassed, but wow. Damn. Thanks a lot for that. Vlad, tailgate at Soldier Field prior to the game. I think so. I think I'll be there. I think I'll come to that event. Yep. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Thank you. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, yeah, that's I gotta stop talking about it. You guys won't stop. Stuart, 20 more. Thank you so much. What the hell, man? You guys are killing me. Now you can afford the 5-star resort. Thanks, Alfred. Thank you. I'll go, right by the hotels. Even though I can't get a reservation now, there's like the most expensive shops over there, like the Zara and the Montclair and all that kind of stuff. It's like the crazy expensive shops. So now maybe I'll go buy something on the clearance rack, you know what I mean, with all of this. So thanks for that. No, thank you. But seriously, Stuart, again, appreciate you very much. As always, guys here supporting the channel means an awful lot. Thank you. I'll take an Uber from the airport instead of the train now. Save myself a little bit of time and a little bit of safety.
If where the talk is 90% agent, where is the other 10%?
Oh, now it's catching up with the donations. But yeah, thank you guys so much.
Watkins, Lammens and I have a feeling we'll loan/sell Collier and get Human. Thoughts?
I think I answered all of those now. Damn. Anyway, all right. We'll catch up eventually. If you make a TTS donation now, I will read it out, but just realize I can't get on with it. Thank you, Kevin Coley. Good Lord. Thank you again. Thank you more. What do I do? Thanks, guys. I mean, shit. That's like literally 25% of the stream has been gifted memberships at this point. That's wild, man. Thank God it doesn't read them out, though. That would be insane. That's awesome, man. Thank you. I can quit my job. Not quite, but... I gotta keep talking, but thank you, Kevin. Thank you. I gotta keep talking so I can get through there. Thank you for being a member as well, Kevin. Thank you, Anthony Coombs, for gifting a sub as well. Thank you, Anthony, and thanks, Kevin, again. Really appreciate that. It's gonna take a good 30 minutes for the names to all catch up here on the thing counting up the new members. So I'm gonna keep talking now and get to it, but I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you. DB Cooper, thank you for the donation. No message, but I imagine you're just sending that. Appreciate you. Okay. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really, really. So yes, on the strike. Oh my God. Bro, let me speak. What are you doing? 50 more from Jason. Oh, man. Thank you. Thank you. Seriously. Yeah, appreciate it. All right. We've upgraded. We're getting the Uber Black now. Thank you. Caden, I'm gonna read that. Otherwise, it's never gonna get to it. Good evening, sir. I disagree with you all the time, but I really appreciate the time and effort you put into the channel. Thank you very much. That's what it's all about. And I don't know why you guys give me money when Jim Ratcliffe's already giving me all the money I need. Like, come on. Where does the clip of you being catapulted come from? Was it a watch long? Catapulted. Is that the one in the when people are joining? Yeah, it was a watch along. So join the watch alongs. They're a lot of fun. Would it be fair to say we'll only sign a striker after we've shifted all the dead weight? Maybe not all of them. It depends. It depends. It depends. That's obviously a joke. It depends. This is the closest. I've said a lot of things on here. I've done a lot of things on here. I've said a lot of stupid things. I've had a lot of. I mean, I'm unabashedly myself on here, but this is by far the closest I've ever been to being just wholly embarrassed just by the support. That's just amazing. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Really, seriously. But no, I don't think we have to get rid of everybody. Sohel, I think that it depends on the type of deals that come in, and even Garnacho alone could be enough, depending on the situation. So, okay, let's keep an eye on it. But certainly they are prioritizing. Stop it. So my PSR problems are resolved, huh? Certainly we are prioritizing likely the Watkins Jackson type of thing, but I would definitely keep that eye on Mateta as well. If that becomes available, we know that, obviously Crystal Palace have been in a this whole flux over the European situation and all of that. Then if he becomes available again, United have kept up on his situation, then that one could come into play there as well. I think he's a good player. I think he could fit. I think he would do well. But yeah, I would say certainly it's looking like Watkins or Jackson are the main targets. Now, that being said, what we don't know is
tailgate at Soldier Field prior
it's
to
going
the
to catch
game.
up on those. I might have to mute the alerts, otherwise I'll let it read out. It's not a big deal. It's still possible. Now, all of them at this point in time are too expensive. All of them right now are too expensive. Like, obviously, that's the key. We don't have the money. We want those prices to come down. We're ready to wait it out just a little bit. That's for sure. So there's probably some alternatives that may be cheaper in the Prem or what have you. I don't know who they are, and I don't think anybody really does. If I were to speculate, which I don't totally love to do, but if I were to speculate on some cheaper alternatives, could it be someone like Muniz, or would he be very expensive? I feel like he'd be very expensive. Evan Nilsson, we know, would be very expensive. Wissa, yes. Is Wissa the right type of striker? I know he's a good striker, and I quite like him. Is he the right type? I'm not so sure about that. Remember, the profile, I think, still matters, but Wissa could be interesting, though I doubt we'll have any more business to do with Brentford. Strand Larsen's certainly not the right type for us. I don't think he'd be particularly cheap after we've already got Cunha from Wolves as well, even though he's a good player, right? I think that all of those are going to be the same price as your Jackson, Watkins, Mateta type of deals, It's hard to think because any decent striker worth his salt is going to be fairly expensive in the Premier League. You know what I mean? Like, they're just going to be. That's why I think about some of those real backup options, those real, like, long shots. Vardy, you know what I mean? That's why I think of that. It's like, is it even possible? So yeah, we need to consider these types of things as well to just think about it. So, but look, we kind of know who we want. Let's put it that way. We know who we want. Darwin Nunez will never do business with Liverpool, I think, even though we do have new owners and new leadership now. Could Darwin Nunez be available? Could Darwin Nunez be obtainable on the cheap as an option? I don't think so, but you never know. I mean, his moves everywhere else keep falling through. That's probably extremely unlikely to happen. Thoughts on Wissa? Yeah, I like Whistle a lot, but I don't think we have a chance of getting him. I don't think they'll do business with us, you know. I'm trying to think who else could even be plausible in this. But, you know, this is why we keep coming back to the Watkins, Jackson, and then, you know, potentially Mateta one, is that there's potentially deals to be done there. You know, like my Nunez suggestion. Mitrovic, we're not going to sign Mitrovic. Nketiah. I would take Nketiah. Yeah, I would take Nketiah. But again, it's like, yeah, we these are now we're just fully speculating. You know what I mean about once it gets to there. But I think it's really clear that the strategy now is work on sales and get those prices down on a Jackson or a Watkins or something like that. So that seems to be the strategy. Let's move on finally from strikers and talk about goalkeeper. Alfred, I want to address that in when we get to the player section. I want to look at that tactics board again and see like what else we could do that might work. And I think maybe we don't have to think of it as totally the 9. You know, think of some flexibility, but we'll get to that. Now, on the goalkeeper front, I think we were talking yesterday night or yesterday the other day, and I think I said we could potentially go for a goalkeeper first because we can afford it, and the options are kind of there. Yeah, look, there's no guarantees we get a striker in soon. That is the truth of it. We definitely want one. We certainly want to get one. It's certainly our intention to get one, but we have to sell and we need the price down. So from United's perspective, they're going to say there's no guarantee we get a striker. That is a true statement. There's no guarantee that we get a striker. Awaniyi. I kind of like that suggestion, by the way. Awaniyi. I don't know if he'd be available or what he would cost, but I kind of like the suggestion. But anyway, a goalkeeper we could do because it's going to take some time on the striker front to raise funds, to get the striker down, to do all of that. That's, you know, that's partially why. And so I think that's what Fabrizio said that today, did he not, on his podcast, Here We Go podcast or what?
Now
whatever.
You can afford the 5-star resort.
Yeah. On that, he said that there's that the striker thing might actually be, or the goalkeeper might actually be first. And I agree that is a serious possibility now. I'm just taking suggestions, cheap suggestions. That's all. I'm just taking cheap suggestions. He might be injured. You know what? You're right. He is injured, isn't he? He has that serious injury. So yeah, maybe I should just suggest someone else like Mikel Antonio. You know what I mean? Who's also very injured, just to keep up my record of making bad suggestions. I did want to mention, by the way. Sorry, I keep flipping back to it. You know the young striker from Metz, Idrissa Gueye. We did get linked to him yesterday. And I said it, I think it was in January, February, I said to keep an eye on that, in particular him. That was the player we were looking at, a young player that we were looking at. Now, apparently West Ham and Southampton are chasing him. He'd be certainly a young project striker for sure. 20 million or so. He was playing at FC Metz in League 2. I'll pull up. I spoke about him months and months and months ago, and he has somebody that United have had on their radar. He's not the Idrissa Gueye who plays for Everton. Okay, he has the same exact name though, just to be clear. He's only 18. He's only 18. But he is really quite highly rated. Yeah. He's quite highly rated. He's only played yeah, but that's the thing. We have a lot of project strikers. Like, since the time that we've been looking at him, We went for he's another Senegalese player. So you can see whose influence is probably on this in our hierarchy on some of these players that we're targeting. But he's big, he's very good, he's very physical. He comes from a really highly rated youth level group, academy, whatever you call it. Yeah, but I think that when we moved for Enzo Kanabiak, that was probably the one we were getting. That was probably the guy we were getting instead as like a younger prospect type of idea. But you never know. I'm just saying, what if we can't get anybody? Should we just hoard another young striker? Because Kanabiak is on loan. Maybe we could bring him in. I don't know. I'm just saying he's being looked at by Premier League clubs as well as United. I feel like Enzo was the alternative. I'm just wondering if we get to the end of summer and we can't get one of our strikers, could we get him? Give us another option. He's been playing first team men's football, yes, in the second league. I'm not saying he'll be a starter, but to give us another guy in that just as an option. Probably not. Probably not. It's probably best he goes somewhere like West Ham and Southampton, or plays in the Championship for a year or something if he leaves. But yeah, he's really highly rated as a prospect in football, so it'd be an interesting one who gets him, what happens next. But yes, on the goalkeeper front, we're likely there's a decent chance we get a keeper before we get a striker, because we've got some money to spend. We do have a little bit of money, and of course our options here are essentially narrowed down to: do we get the prospect in Lammens? Do we get Emi Martinez? I still believe we're leaning towards the Lammens option. I think we've made some more recent contact on that, and that this is the direction we could go, and we could do it sooner rather than later to add a keeper to this. Whereas with Emi Martinez, maybe it's true we made a loan offer. I don't know. They denied it. It's quite expensive if we were to sign Emi Martinez. I don't think we have the money for that. So if we're going to do it soon, then it'll probably be the young player that we go for. And for me, that's the right choice. So hopefully this does happen. If it does, you could see this happen soon. With the money that's saved, with Rashford's wages off, with all of that, we've probably got the ability to do that deal now. And I think that that's partially what's appealing, that while we need time to get the striker in the door and to get sales and to see what happens on prices there, that we don't just stop our business, and that we could get Lammens in. Obviously, we may need to be exploring what happens with Bayindir, so maybe it'll come just at the end of the tour or something like that. But this is an intriguing one. It's a serious possibility. It's becoming like a serious possibility that we go and get Lammens, or that goalkeeper as our potential next signing. It's definitely a distinct possibility that is the case. So bear that in mind as well. So yeah, this is becoming more and more real, but we do really want, there's obviously a very serious now interest in getting a keeper in the door, and I think that the leaning is towards him. Haven't watched much of Lammens, but from the analysis I've seen, he kind of reminds me of De Gea in the worst way. Good shot stopper and nothing else. Well, I think it's hard to say with young keepers, to be honest. Statistically, he has not done much by way of like with his feet. It's a bit of an unknown there. But I think you can develop that, because he's a footballer. I think you can develop that. I think that in the modern game, you can coach that with young keepers. I think De Gea never really learned to, because he came through an era where goalkeepers weren't really passing with their feet too much. Where I would say Lammens is better than De Gea already.
You deserve it, James. Keep it up. Fist emoji.
That's from old, but where I would say that he's very good for his high claims. He's very aggressive with it. Obviously, sometimes you have to tame it a little bit. Sometimes you have to control it a little bit. Sometimes you have to focus it a little bit. But he's very aggressive at those high claims, stopping crosses, things like that as well. Just needs to work on the timing and all of that. But I think that's where he would do much better than De Gea already, and I think would do well for us. as well. Um, on the other front, one of the reasons you're seeing, these kind of like not coordinated, but like aligned stories coming out. Rob Dawson, ESPN, already said this morning we might have start the season without a striker. This was like an hour ago, maybe. There's another story. We might start the season without a new striker. Because there's no guarantee we get a new striker, and we certainly don't want to appear desperate for the options that we have. And we need time for the prices and such to come down. But we certainly want that. We certainly do. But yeah. So goalkeeper, definitely an option here, and one that could become serious. Maybe there's another option we don't know about, but these seem to be the main ones, and I certainly hope we follow through. That we follow through on the Lammens one, because I think he'd be the best choice there. Now, the other day I said, what are my players to watch in this summer? And that's the reason why I wanted to talk about this, and the reason why, this point on we may not start the season with a striker is why I had Joshua Zirkzee on my list, because I've got 5 players. Let me just make sure I didn't do anything stupid here. I've got 5 players on my list that I want to run through for different reasons of why I think they're so important this summer, and then we'll chat about that and yap and cover anything else that we want to over the next few minutes here. But let's start here. Number 1 is Cunha. Obviously, new signing, come in, needs to help us in our build-up, needs to help us in producing and scoring goals, needs to hit the ground running, needs to bring that aggression that he brings in, needs to get into the team and really find his place very quickly. And I think that he will. I think he's going to have a big improvement on what we already have. The second one, obvious, the man, the myth, the legend, Bryan Mbeumo. Really excited about him. I think he has the potential impact to bring the goals more than Cunha, and I think he does a lot. I think one of the underrated aspects of his game as well is how he uses his physicality so well in small spaces to create space, to get separation, to get in there, and the combination of them as 10s, I think, is a game changer. Guys who can drop in the midfield. A while back, I retweeted a comp of Mbeumo, his performance against Man City without a goal or an assist, because I thought it was more impressive than the games I've seen with him scoring and such. He can score goals, he can shoot, he can pass, he can do all of that. But I thought that composition was even more impressive, because what it showed was exactly what we want out of our 10 on that side. Dropping in, receiving the ball with pressure on him, turning quickly, beating his man, dueling, finding the gaps, getting the one touches over to the fullback who's attacking. All those sorts of things that you want that will help us a lot. So, he's one that I'm really excited about, obviously. I mean, blatantly obvious. I'm stating the boring here by saying excited about Mbeumo, but for a lot more reasons than just his goal-scoring output. And then Joshua Zirkzee, certainly hugely excited for Joshua Zirkzee. One, because I love watching him play. I think he has a very unique skill set. I love his personality. I think he's a fighter. I think he's a strong personality. I think he's the right character to succeed at United, and I think that he will. But in addition, because as a striker, if he's the guy, and I really hope that he is, I really hope that he is the guy who was picked to start before we get a striker in, then he should be the guy starting, because of kind of the reasons discussed in here. One, because he reads the game really well. 2, in those circumstances in the build-up and in the play where we end up with it, wide, they're pressing up high, they're following kind of man-to-man, and we need the striker to drop in and receive the ball in these spaces in the middle and control it. Zirkzee is 10 times better than Rasmus Højlund at this aspect of football. He's much, much better at this. He can receive the ball well. He can he can do all of that really well. He's much more he's very intelligent, very good at controlling the ball in those spaces, very good at getting the ball up the pitch. But there's another reason too, where you get this kind of flexibility for a minute, right? Yes, Brian Mbeumo is not a striker. And when you start talking about, this kind of phase of play of moving forward, into these areas where you're attacking the box, you're going to want Mbeumo out here contributing, right? You're going to want him out there doing what you need him to do. However, it doesn't have to be this rigid, right? Because the important thing to note here is it's the fundamentals that matter. So one of the things Xerxes does really well is...
Good evening, sir. I disagree with H. You're all the timey too.
Caught up with this one before,
but I
thank
really
you
appreciated
again.
the time and effort you put into the channel.
So we're talking about those 10s dropping and the 9 running. Well, you have the option to do the opposite. If you have 3 intelligent players in here, the ball moves to the right, the ball moves to the right center back, the 9 could drop, and the 10 can use that to vacate, to run the channel, because you're going to have, essentially, even that could create confusion in the back line, where, it allows, if they press Xerxes, if they follow Xerxes, or if they drop off another player, that it can create that kind of confusion that would allow for Mbeumo to find space down the wing by running the channel, and then he can pick it up. He's strong, he's good on the ball, he can hold it up and let the rest of the attack come back. Then at the same time, it's the same goes for the opposite direction. And this is where I think Xerxes is so intelligent, and his movement can help us a lot, because maybe he's not the best runner of the channels. Not that he can't do it, mind you. If he just, if when Mbeumo drops in, if he just moves to the side properly, uses his body to shield, he can still receive these passes. Same goes for the other side. He can do the exact same thing. Drop in here and let Cunha run. Also aggressive, also fast, also can run the channels. So we can do the same job where, potentially instead of Xerxes, or the striker being the guy who has to run the channels and move side to side in front of the 10s, you can also have the same situation where he moves where the 10 would move and the 10s run the channels. And that can be done if that striker is also very, very intelligent as well. And so this is where I think Xerxes could have a really big, big, big impact on it. Because if he can do those things, if he can coordinate really, really well with the rest of the team, if he can do that...
Where does the clip of you being catapulted come from? Was it a watch along?
If he can do that, then it certainly helps, because he can do a lot of the same movements that he needs, and he has the quality to receive the ball in those tight spaces. And I think he's an intelligent enough player. Obviously, where I would still say it drops off a bit is the final third. When we get to the final third, he may not have quite as much the instinct, of a striker. He has good ball striking, but he's not so. Maybe he's anyway. That's obviously where we would want to see him improve. But it's just catching up.
We'll only sign a striker after we've shifted all of the deadweight, i.e. Anthony, Garnacho, Sancho, and Malaysia.
Yeah. So again, that's why with that question, by the way, why we're saying, it may take till we may start the season without a striker, a new striker. It's possible. It's certainly possible. It's certainly a potential thing, because we need that price to come down and we need more money. So anyway, this is where I think it's a huge possibility is that one of these guys can do the running, and he can do this. Now, bear in mind, Ruben Amorim has already played this way before. He played this way in his first season before Gyökeres with Paulinho, where Paulinho was a bit more of a different type of mover, and he had a lot of runs from 10s and things like that further up the pitch. Both Cunha and Mbeumo are athletic enough to do that.
But from the analysis I have seen, he kinda reminds me of De Gea in the worst way. Good shot stopper and nothing else.
We've talked about those. Okay, we're almost caught up. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm excited about. Plays this way with Conrad Harder. Correct. So he's done it both ways. And I think that that's one of the advantages of getting Cunha and Mbeumo is that they're not guys who are like when you play with Mount, he's never going to be making those runs, right? He's never going to. He's never going to be doing these runs. When you play with Garnacho, he's never going to drop in. When you play with Cunha and Bumo, they can do both. That's one of the advantages of the profiles we're getting is they are flexible. We are flexible. We are able they are able to adjust to that system. So I'm really, really hoping that that it's Xerxes and that he does that because, yeah, I mean, ironically, Højlund. It's so funny because the Højlund that we originally saw could have been the right guy for this system, but he's just seemingly lost the ability to do what we kind of need. But yeah, that's why I'm excited for that. The next player that I'm very excited for is Bendito Mantato. And, essentially the reason I'm extremely excited for Mantato is because, one, I think he's a good young player who has potentially explosive tools. Two, because he's he can give us another option at wingback and at the 10 in that flex, kind of like Ahmad, so that we can keep doing the things that we need. You know what I mean? That we can keep that because the aggression from the fullbacks is really important. I think he can give us an option there with his skill set going forward that gives us more choices. He can also play on the left. He can play on the right. He can play different positions. But another simple reason for it is that we need some academy breakthroughs this season to make sure, we get some players through. And he's one I really, really hope so. And then the last one that I'm quite excited for is Kone, specifically because let's take this midfielder discussion. What do we want from a midfielder that we may not be able to get to this summer? Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Well, what we want is Kone, just maybe a bit more developed, because he brings us. He's very energetic. He's an aggressive tackler. He's an aggressive space coverer. He's very and he has the skill set on the ball to do amazing things. So he can be the right guy. He's just probably not ready, but he could be. He could be the right guy. And we're lacking in what he's got. He fits, like if I were to say what would be the midfielder we would want, it's his skill set. He's just not necessarily ready yet. So I've high hopes. Maybe he can take a step forward in his progression over the summer through the season and become that guy. That would be my hopes for Kone. And so that's why he needs to polish, he needs to improve, but those are my hopes for him because you can see it. You see it in those, and when in that postseason tour and all of that, you can see he is what we want. He covers ground. He's fast. He does all of that. He's got to put it together, and he's very good on the ball. As he's got the tools, and I really rate him from what I've seen of him. So yeah. So those are the players I'm very excited for. Certainly. Yeah, he size is a factor there. He's got to improve on the size. But yeah, I'm quite excited. Quite excited. But yeah, I mean, just to kind of summarize it all out, obviously Premier League proven strikers, the potential idea. It's expensive. It's probably not going to happen soon. We want those prices to come down. We want to consider things. I would say the fact that we haven't super engaged in the Garnacho Jackson thing doesn't necessarily mean we don't want it, but that maybe it's not our ideal profile not our ideal move as of yet at the values that are being there. We need to sell. Goalkeeper, something that could come first. Midfielder, there's still nothing advanced on that front. We're not right on the verge of signing Javi Guerra or anything like that right now. But yeah, I could definitely see goalkeeper coming first, and then as we get sales, go for the striker, and then see what comes out on the midfield front, any sort of options. But some of that could hopefully be resolved with preseason. So yeah, it's exciting. It's quite exciting. 1 second, sorry. But one of the things I want to say that's kind of funny on this kind of striker thing, like so basically there's some stories that's come out today, like United no guarantee they have a striker at the start of the season. We might not get a new striker by then. Blah blah blah, all of that, right? Um, Bear in mind, I think people can read into that too much. Really, all that's happening here is we know the prices are high. We need to sell. We need to get a striker in, but that may not be a quick process. What United don't want to do is appear desperate, appear like they're on the verge of making a deal, appear like they're about to try to make offers tomorrow. When you're talking about players where we want those prices to come down, and we're kind of saying, well, we think what our bet is those guys that we want are potentially not necessarily wanted by their club, and the same way that clubs are waiting on us to the end of the season to summer to buy cheap, we're saying we expect those prices to come down too. Doesn't mean much. The other thing I will say is it's probably a slight reaction to Fabrizio because Fabrizio keeps running around saying United will sign a striker. They've had multiple meetings on striker. They will sign a striker. And you know what? I think he's right. But at the same time, I understand that United's position, getting it out there, is to say is to pull that back a little bit because we don't want to seem desperate. We don't want to seem like we're just going to throw as much money as possible as to one of our targets. That's just basic public positioning and all of that kind of stuff. It's not particularly important to consider it. We do want a striker. I think that's where we could be almost even have an advantage in going for the goalkeeper first. Is that it even says, look, yeah, we're not desperate. We need sales and we need those prices to come down. Can we yeah, well, that's what we were discussing. Re-engineering Xerxes, seeing how we can make him fit with these guys the right way. I think that's a doable plan, but it also gives you a plan B. It's good to have plans, different options, different dynamics for different games and things like that too. One of the ones where I think the dynamic of Xerxes will actually help us a lot, okay, that I will say is that I'm just going to pull this up again and put on my tactical hat one more time, okay, is when we play teams that are three at the back. When we play teams that are three at the back, we struggle because they can go man to man in like every position. One of the things that happens is that I did notice that when we played some of the lower sides like Ipswich, I think Southampton, our build-up struggled a lot because they went man to man kind of everywhere across the pitch, and then they would they're already matched up on the back line. We don't have the same numerical advantage in any case where there's as much of an open route here to move the ball to the wing backs as easily. One of the things that actually helped us a lot in those games was when Xerxes could play. Because he's better at dropping into this gap in the middle that would form against the three at the back teams, because they play wider, right? The middle has a little bit more space. The 9 dropping in and receiving the ball from here was one of the best ways we were able to progress it. That didn't work with Højlund. And so I think that it gives us, even having that dynamic will help us against certain teams where if they do go man-to-man on our whole 5 here, then having that striker with that flexibility who drops in well. So, yeah, it's just an interesting thing to think about. So, oof, man, it's been a video. It's been a stream. It's been a live. I can't thank you guys enough. 200 new members today from all the donations and things like that. Seriously, can't thank you guys enough. We're probably not gonna get like late night things because it's not late in the US. We might have to wait till late in the US for some stories to come out. Um, but I really, really do appreciate you guys so much for all the support and all of that. Means an awful lot. Again, tomorrow, yes, I'll be traveling, so different something tomorrow. I'll film some stuff during the day, put it together for a video in the evening, and then hopefully I will be able to do a live from a walking around out in the world tomorrow evening. It'll be later, so it'll probably be like 3 or 4 Central Time, which is what that's about now. Like, let's say now. It'll be starting maybe about now at the earliest because I gotta get out of the airport, get to the hotel, unload, and then go where I want to go. So it'll probably be around now tomorrow that I'll go live one way or another. I'll figure that out. Um, and we'll see some new things. And then on Friday, I'll have open training, press conference. I'll video what I can, take pictures what I can, share what I can, and then perhaps we'll have some conversations of our own to be shared later. Saturday, I will be flying to New York. I'm going to try to get something with Flex and KG before the game or during the game or after the game while there. And then we're all coming back to Chicago. So I'm sure I'll find some time in that week to do some stuff with them as well. Okay. Thank you all for hanging out with me again today. I appreciate you all so much. Really do. It means an awful lot. The support, everything. Just fantastic. So thank you very much, and I appreciate you all. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will catch you all on the other side. All right, have a good one, and make sure to smash a like on the video, on the stream, on the way out. And again, thank you so much to everybody who sent gifted memberships and things, from Kevin, Stuart, Jason, Alfred, everybody in there, all of that. Is it fair to give Emram the entire season? I think we should see progress through November, December, and I think they'll expect to see that, frankly. Yeah, that's it. But thank you guys. Yeah, really, really appreciate you all. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, everybody. Alfred, thanks you all. Thank you all.